Now I'll offer two different options and you can adjust based on your energy level today. Option one is a shaking meditation, just standing with your feet at hips width distance and bouncing. Option two, if that feels like too much energy, especially if you're just getting back, you can let your weight shift from side to side in your feet and start to observe the transition there. So you can switch between these two things or do them at the same time. There was a request for psoas related stuff, and one thing that's really challenging about accessing the psoas is that you need to basically warm up everything around it to comfortably and successfully get to the psoas. So first we will warm the legs. Yeah, if your body starts to bring in a swing because you're switching your weight between your feet, that's fine. We're just finding our steady rhythm in our breathing, in our movement, in whatever noises need to come out of your mouth. Let's take about 15 or so breaths so you can let yourself lose track of how many breaths and just focus on the movement and what you feel in your body as you move. Maybe your eyes close. Maybe you notice if you're shaking that there's a part of your body that's clenching and you try to soften. But allowing these breaths or these few moments to support you in landing in your physical body in this space at this time. When you feel that mind-body connection really coming together, you can start to slow your bounce and just stand tall in mountain pose, letting your feet be at hips width distance or slightly wider if that helps you feel more grounded in your body.
Where's Dada?
Dada is downstairs, baby.
I didn't see him.
I think he might be in the bathroom.
Hmm.
Take a breath in and a breath out. So as you stand, take in what's happening right now in your physical body. And the outside world will have its way of sneaking in. Last week it was the woodpecker, for those of you that remember. It might be some, yeah. This week it might be something different, so we'll just notice it as it comes up, even if it's an annoying car on the street, and say, well, here I am. We'll take a breath in, inhale your arms up overhead. And with your exhale, bend in your knees and let yourself fold down. Now, if folding makes your head feel funny, or if you have blood pressure stuff going on, grab blocks and set them underneath your hands. Lengthen out your spine as you inhale and pause for a moment to check that your feet are parallel. You can soften in your knees and notice if your weight's really coming forward or if you can shift it back towards your hips, towards your heels, so that your hamstrings are lengthening out. Take a breath in again. With your exhale, if it feels okay, you can fold. All right, we'll do that again. Inhale, lengthen, heart forward, hips back, giving the hamstrings a little love. Exhale and fold. Now this time, as you find your flat back, if you need to adjust where you are on your mat so that you can step back, we'll make sure we have space. So you'll find your long spine as you inhale. And with your exhale, step your right foot back and tap your right knee down. We're coming into a 90-degree angle lunge. Some folks call it, or think of it as half camel. You want to stack your right hip right on top of your right knee. So instead of trying to shift your hips forward, you're stacked right on top. Then gently lift your belly up. You can use your hands for support. I'll definitely use my hands for support these days. Keep the left foot really anchoring down, but you can almost hug back through your left heel. Press through the top of your right foot and reach your right arm up. So we're making a really long line of activation all the way down the right hip flexors. Well, you can stay here or begin to explore leaning back ever so slightly. If it makes you feel dizzy, keep your eyes straight ahead and just lean your chest back. If it feels nice, you're welcome to look up. If it feels interesting even. But if it makes you feel dizzy or if it's hard to balance, that's not something we're looking for right now. Just looking for the sense of length. And take a breath in. And a breath out. All right, one more inhale. With your exhale, bring your hands to your left thigh. Pause for a moment and take a breath in. And a breath out. We're going to play with balance here. If you need to use a wall, use a wall, but press strongly through the top of your right foot. If your right knee is cranky, you can put a block under it. That'll be softer, or even a pillow, or rolling up a towel. But try to lift your left foot slowly and set the left knee down beside the right. Okay. On an inhale, your hips are stacked over your knees. Let your arms sweep up. Snap, crackle, pop. On an exhale, we'll sit our hips back towards the heels, and you might find that you need a block for this. Okay. We'll be doing that again. If you need to have blocks behind your bum, get blocks, or behind, I should say, under. You can make them as tall as you need. I like to stagger blocks all around me so that they're wherever I need them when I need them, but move them if you need to. On an inhale, sweep your arms up. You can hook your thumbs overhead or just let your hands touch as your hips come forward. And with your exhale, slow motion, so you're pressing back through the tops of your feet. Let your hips come down towards the block as slowly as you can muster. So we're starting to activate in the place that we were just stretching. And if you find that you have more space or range of motion, you can take out the block and try to move a little slower. If this is bothersome to knees, you might try rolling up a towel behind the pit of your knees to give the backs of your knees more space. We'll try this twice more. On an inhale, you'll come up, sweep your arms up, lift your chest. On your exhale, as slowly as physically possible, lower the hips back towards the heels. One more time. Inhale, up. Hips forward, chest lifting. Exhale, lower hips to heels. Here, you'll tuck your toes under, and we'll take a variation of child's pose that's a little bit higher up. So you can keep the blocks if they're helpful. With the toes tucked under, it can be a little bit of support if your bum can reach them. If not, you can shift your hips more forward so it becomes more like puppy. And let your chest come down. And take a breath in. And then a breath out. The shoulders have been an ongoing theme through the pandemic, but also just in general because we're sort of smushed over computers a little more lately. You are welcome to stay here. If it's too intense in the shoulders and you want to soften it a bit, bend your elbows out to the side. If you're enjoying this, a stretch behind the shoulder blades, you might bring your hands closer together. Take a breath in. And on an exhale, we'll come forward onto forearms. Now, you can keep the blocks behind you, but if they feel like they're in the way, actually keep the blocks behind you and try to squeeze them with the feet, the inside edges of the feet. Then walk up onto your hands. Now, if you need something for your wrists, you can be on fists or flat palms. You can also put blocks underneath your forearms. Squeeze the blocks between your heels and your feet. If there's a block or two blocks, whatever was back there that you were sitting on, squeeze it. Take a breath in, arch your spine, so cow pose. Then as you exhale and you're rounding, lift your feet up, squeezing the blocks or block. On your inhale, your feet will come down, your chest lifts up. On your exhale, squeeze the block or blocks, round through the spine. Notice if everything feels wobbly with the squeeze in your feet and try to help your feet squeeze evenly. We'll take 2 or 3 more of these. So this little bit of activation through the inner leg line. Breathing in and breathing out. One more time. Inhaling and exhaling. Set your blocks down this time. Come to a neutral spine. Breathe in. And with your exhale, we'll keep the left knee where it is, but extend the right foot back behind the line of your left knee. Your left hand will stay down and it can be a fist or a flat palm, but you'll take your right arm up. Now as you're here, let me turn so that you can see me. As you're here, there's a tendency to hinge in your hip crease. Try to let your lower hip come right up on top of your knee. So that's your left knee with your left hip right on top. And if that's not working for you, add something underneath your hand so you can feel that sense of expansion through the front line. Take a breath in and a breath out. All right, so here we go. Now you can do this with the back foot on the ground and move once you bring your hand down, or you can lift your back foot up first. Take a breath in. As you exhale, bend in the right knee. Bring the right foot forward with your hands down or on the floor, first or second. This time we'll take a deeper lunge. Let your hips come forward. You can stay low with the hands and find lizard, allowing the hips to drop. So, in lizard today, there are a couple of different ways lizard can be taken. You can take it active, you can take it passive. For today, let your hips come low and let your upper body turn ever so slightly towards the right. Now, you're welcome to grab a bolster or something and rest your hip or your torso on it, whatever works. We're not going to be here for a super duper long time, but we will be here long enough that it might feel nice to give it some extra support. So if a bolster ramp makes this pose feel sustainable in a different way, that's perfect. We'll take a breath in and then a breath out. And if getting this low sounds on
I think
yeah. If coming this low in the pose is not sustainable or not possible in your body, you can also press into your hands and just, let's say, play with the edge of what makes sense for you. And take a breath in and a breath out. Hey Vito, can you go get Dada for help, buddy? Dada will help. Right. Okay. When it's time to move, you might need to shift your hips back just to give your body a sense of a break. So we'll come through a half Hanuman. Let your hips stack over your left knee, turn your right toes up. And if it's too much in your hip crease or hamstrings, you're welcome to come all the way up, or you can stay low in your folds and turn your toes out. And then turn your toes in. Exploring all of the places in the hamstrings that might have something to say about this shape. Let your breath come in. Yeah, just a second. Take one more inhale. With your exhale, bend into your right knee. Curl your left toes, your back toes under to pick it up. Pick up your back knee. Breathe in. And as you exhale, we'll find Malasana, squat pose. You can sit on your bolster if it's handy, or a block. So we're playing with some depth through the hips today. Let your knees go out, your toes turn out, and your hips, you want to have them supported enough that you can lift your spine. And take a breath in and a breath out. Take it downstairs and Dada will help it.
I need to do it on Monday because I don't know this.
Take a breath in and a breath out. Because we're here and shoulder love is helpful, find a way to make contact with your elbows on your legs. So whether that's the inside edge or the top, press whatever part of your arm or elbow is touching your leg into your leg. And notice how the press gives you the ability to move through your shoulders. And you can roll through a few circles here, or simply appreciate the activation and what that feels like. Let your breath come in and your breath go out. Now there are two ways to come up to stand. The first one is to fold forward. The second one is to press into your feet and come up. So you get to pick, inhale your way up, one way or the other. So you can fold and roll up or sweep up, if that makes more sense. Breathe in. And with your exhale, bring your hands to center. Let your feet come to hips width distance or slightly wider. Take a breath in and a breath we'll take a little chair. So shift your hips back ever so slightly so there's a slight bend in your knees. You can take your arms up if that works, or because there are some ongoing shoulder issues in this group, you're welcome to keep your hands down if that feels better. Really adjusting to what serves your body today. Your body and your mind working together. Let your breath come in. And your breath go out. Okay. Awesome. On an inhale, come up to stand. Sweep up to a neutral spine and evenness between your feet. As you exhale, your hands will come to center chest. Lift your right knee up. Now, we're balancing, but you can choose the focus for your own body. So we're going to do some rotation through the hip here in standing. You can move the right knee in wide circles. If you want to focus on the rotation and balance is just not where your mind wants to be right now, turn towards the wall, let your left hand find the wall, and move your right knee in some big wide circles so that you can feel, or at least play with, how your knee and hip can move. A chair is a great addition. If you're working with balance and it feels really tenuous, set your eyes at something that doesn't move and give yourself permission to do less movement to find how you can stabilize. So in this way you make the pose or the practice of movement deliberate and mindful for your body today. Okay. The next time you pass through center, let your right foot land down. I'll come back to the top of the mat. Find a steady stance so your feet are level and pointing forward. Inhale, your arms go high. And with your exhale, bend in your knees. Fold to a comfortable place down. Maybe that's halfway, maybe that's all the way. Let your spine lengthen on an inhale, knees bend. Chest goes forward. Maybe your hands are on blocks, maybe not. This time we'll step the left foot back and set up this 90-degree angle lunge. Now take care of your knee first before you try to move into the pose itself. So we're setting a foundation that's comfortable or at least supportive of the joints as we come into posture. The right knee will be over the right heel. Press through the top of the left foot. And sometimes that press is enough to get you feeling the front line of your left leg and the front line of your pelvis on the left side. You can stay with that, or your right hand can be at your hip or the small of your back. Let your left hand reach up. Breath comes in. Breath comes out. Okay. Now remember, you're welcome to keep your eyes straight ahead, or you can use the look of your eyes to help lift your chest up and maybe slightly back, but you're still keeping your hips over the line of your left knee. Totally up to you how far you go, as always, but make sure that you're able to find a steady breath rhythm. So if you're like, this is so cool, I'm doing a cool thing, but you can't breathe, back off a little bit. Let yourself take a deep breath in and feel the full breath out. When you're ready to move, stack your shoulders over your hips. You can put your hands on your hips, or if you need the support of a wall for the transition, you can use it. You'll press through the left foot and start to shift the right knee up and down beside the left knee. Now, if you don't have blocks behind you anymore, if you had to move them, try to put them back first. Same here. Inhale, your arms go up, your hips come forward. Squeeze the blocks with your heels, and as you exhale, slowly shift to sit back. Okay. And you might notice as we do this a few more times that you have more space to go a little lower. You don't have to change anything, but I'm noticing already that it's becoming easier now. So inhale, your arms go up. And as you exhale, hug in through the feet around the blocks. Slowly lower. And maybe you have more support coming from your legs as you do. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale back. We'll come forward into table this time, and you can set your hands in any way that makes sense. Finding our cat-cow as I want to call it a restorative action. You can take it the traditional way, arching and rounding. Or you can add in the squeeze of the block behind you if that felt interesting or compelling today. Inhale. And with your exhale, you'd squeeze the block and try to lift the feet as you round. Inhale, anchoring through the tops of the feet to the floor, chest lifting. And exhaling, maybe lifting the feet. Give yourself another cycle or two of breath here. When you feel ready to transition, you'll make sure your right knee is comfortably underneath your right hip. Then extend your left leg back. If you need to nudge the blocks out of the way, you can. You'll open up to stack the hips on top of the right knee as the left arm comes up. So side plank variation. One way to adjust is to put a block underneath your front hand. You want to find as much length in the lower side of your body as you can, because it helps you lengthen your upper side and it helps you keep your spine long. So if your head's dropping towards the floor, lift it up in line with the rest of your spine so that your head is an extension of the neck, an extension of all your vertebrae. You can stay here or take a breath in. And try to lift the left leg up for a moment. Breathing in. On an exhale, you'll bend the left knee, step the left foot forward, and we'll find a lizard lunge. So getting low again, or as low as is appropriate for your body today. The left foot comes to the left edge of your mat. And here, the hips come forward and down. We're not looking for pain or discomfort, just a sense of the distinction between the two things, right? So we had our sort of rigid 90-degree angle lunge, and now we're looking for this slightly softer, more supportive variation of a lunge. Possibly a deeper stretch, possibly a different stretch. How it feels in one body will be different than how it feels in another. So we'll be here for a few breaths, and remember, you can add your bolster or blocks. Let your breath come in and your breath go out. I think y'all know if this is a place you want to stay, you can stay as long as you like. When you're ready to come out, you'll walk your hands in underneath you to take some of the weight. Then straighten your left leg, and you can stay hinged at your hip, or if that feels like too much or it's putting a strain on your back, you can put blocks under your hands or even come up to a tall spine and really actively hinge at your hip crease. To explore in the hamstrings right now, turn the toes out, turn the toes in. Let yourself rotate between those 2 points, noticing what you experience. We'll be shifting towards active lunge for a moment. So bend into the left knee, curl the right toes under, picking up the back knee. Take a breath in. With your exhale, step forward into your squat. And again, if you need your block, feel free to grab it. Dropping your hips this time. If it's challenging to be here, give yourself permission to walk your feet a little farther forward for now so that you can bring your hands to the inside edge of your legs and still find uprightness through the spine. We'll take a breath in and a breath out. Now you can stay right here or make this a little bit of a twist. Press into your right elbow. Take your left arm behind your back and start to look to the left. This is a more gentle twist than some of the ones that we do here, but you might find that because of the contact with the elbow and the thigh, you're able to notice the length you have or lose along the right side of your side body as you turn. Take a breath in. And turn as you exhale. And we'll come back to center. Let the left arm make contact somewhere on the left thigh and bring your right hand behind you. Sitting up tall again. Breathe in. Turn to the right as you breathe out. Let your breath come. And let your breath go. One more deep inhale. And a full breath out. You'll bring your right hand back to the front. And use your hands to bring your feet in a place where you can either fold forward from here or stand up. So we're coming up to stand eventually. If folding forward makes sense, you can drop your hands to the floor and use your hands to help lift your hips, or you can sweep up to you. We'll come up one way or the other. Breathe in. And let your hands find center chest. Now, feet come to hips width distance. We'll find our little chair again, or what I sometimes call bar stool, because it sounds more age appropriate than high chair. Bend your knees an inch or two, maybe 3. Let your hips come back in space. And again, we're cultivating this sense of warmth or activation in the legs. We're not trying to blow ourselves out of the water with activation, but the warmth helps to make more space, or more spaces accessible. So take a breath in your bar stool or high chair, and take another breath out. One more breath in, and a breath out. On an inhale, rise to stand. And with your exhale, your hands will come to center. Your weight will shift into your right foot. Lift the left knee when you're ready. Same options are available. So if you want to take this lifted leg and focus on the motion of the leg being lifted, you can lean into the wall or use the wall to help you stabilize. Maybe that gives you just a little bit more space to observe what's happening in the body and to explore. If the balance is really compelling, especially because winter is coming, play with lifting the left leg and just see what you can sustain with respect to balance. And it might be wobbly, that's okay. You might have to change how you move to support your balance. Also okay. Let your breath come and your breath go. And if you've hit a place where you're just done, we'll be coming together in mountain pose, feet at hips width distance. Take a breath in and a breath out. Okay. We'll be setting up variations of pigeon, so that will be figure 4 or a traditional pigeon, like front down. Since we're already standing, figure 4 at the wall is another good way to play with this shape, so I'm going to offer all 3 and you can pick which one serves you today. At the wall, you take a sort of, I want to say high chair, a bar stool, and you let your weight, your feet press into the wall, into the floor in a way that shifts your weight back into the wall. And you'll cross one foot over the opposite thigh. What I tend to notice when that happens is that the side body gets weirdly distorted. You want to try to maintain length of your side body so it's even on both sides. Now, if you're here and thinking, this doesn't work for me, that's okay. You can come onto your back and take figure 4. That's our secondary option. Secondary only because it's what I'm saying second, not because there's a hierarchy of these shapes. So if you're taking figure 4 on your back, you cross your right ankle over your left thigh and you can hug in. And finally, pigeon, which I find the safest way to set up pigeon is actually from seated. You can hug your right heel towards your bum, set the right knee down on the floor, so you have to lean towards it, then extend the left leg behind you. Now this pose isn't super sustainable for me anymore because I have a belly in the way, but you turn so that your hips level off. Oftentimes if the weight's more to the side of the bent knee, it'll feel like you're opening up. You want to turn your hips towards the floor so that they're level. You can put a bolster or a block underneath your arms. And make this very passive, which is the same on the back. You can make it very passive. If you're taking figure 4 standing, switch sides. You can take a moment upright or just move right into the second side. Awesome. If you're in figure 4 on your back, you might decide to do some rocking action here. And I'll demonstrate what I mean. And you can use the sole of your left foot to just move from side to side. One of the harder places to stretch that can inhibit your ability to access your psoas is this outer hip spot. So in figure 4, you can take figure 4 twist, dropping the right foot over to the left, getting a little bit more spacious through the outside line of the right leg, of the right hip, really. For my pigeon friends, you can come up and lift your chest up. And a moment in active pigeon is often a helpful way to see if you're sinking into the front hip side, or if you can find a sense of uplift that helps you both lengthen and strengthen at the same time. If you're in figure 4 on your back, switch sides. If you're in pigeon, you can switch sides as well, shifting your hip down and turning, or bringing yourself to seated. You'll hug your left heel in. Let the left knee come down so that your weight shifts to the left side. Then extend your right leg back. If you were in standing figure 4, start to make your way onto your back. Because standing figure 4 can be kind of intense on the lower body and activation, if you're getting onto your back from standing figure 4, you can take easy inversion with the block under your bum and your legs straight up, or set your legs up the wall if you have a wall. Don't worry, y'all, we'll get there. For those of you in figure 4 on your back, you can start rocking. If that feels good, it might transition you into figure 4 twist. If that works, great. If it doesn't, you can stay in figure 4 a little longer. So you might drop the left foot over. For my pigeon friends, bring some weight back into your hands. And start to lift your chest up and pause for a moment, allowing the weight to shift back towards your pelvis. As your chest lifts in an active pigeon, it helps to transition the weight back in the frame of your hips. And you can stay or hug in a little bit around your pelvis to create a sense of buoyancy and possibly get some space in your left hip crease. From pigeon, you'll let your weight shift towards your left hip and bring your right foot forward. If there's not a baby in your belly and your low back feels okay, you can use core strength and lower your body down slowly to your back. Alternatively, we're all joining together on our back. You can just come there. All right. And If you really need easy inversion and you haven't had the opportunity yet, you can take it, setting a block underneath your bum. And just taking your legs straight up. I'll add some variations from here. So make sure that whatever is under your bum or your pelvis really feels comfortable. If it feels like it's digging into the small of your back, you can move it down or use a rolled up towel instead. Keep the right leg lifted. We'll extend the left leg forward. Hopefully your bolster's not in your way. Mine is, but you can drop your left heel to the ground. I say that, but the left heel being on something is actually feeling nice for me right now. So you might play with adding height if that helps. This is basically a variation of supported bridge in the way that we're doing it today. So breathe. And if it feels too much, you might set your right foot down on the ground for a few breaths. Or even hug the right knee in for a few breaths. When it is time to transition, it might feel best to have some support happening for the right leg. So you can hold on to the right knee or press your right foot into the floor. You'll hug your left knee in and extend the left leg up first. And then extend the right leg long. So second side. Your arms can go wherever is supportive of you feeling relaxed. So if that means out to the side or overhead, that's great. Take a breath in and a breath out. You'll set your left foot. When you're feeling complete, you'll bring your left knee into your chest. You'll guide your right foot to the floor, then your left foot to the floor. You can stay in passive supported bridge for a moment. If it feels empowering and helpful, you might press into your feet, press into your shoulders, and lift into an active bridge. If it feels empowering to take rest, take the rest. When you feel complete, you'll come down. Hips all the way down to the floor. Our final posture before Shavasana will be an easy twist on either side. You can use a rolled up blanket or you can put your bolster between your thighs, but you'll take both knees to one side and let your arms open up either into a T or a cactus shape, whatever you have the space for. Take a deep and full breath in. And a deep and full breath out. You can bring your knees into your chest and roll to the second side. You might move the props first if that makes more sense. you to move so that you have space, that's okay too. Coming towards the second side of your twist, however that manifests today. As the pose runs its course, you can take out whatever you have between your knees and maybe slide it underneath your thighs. As you come onto your back, we're coming into Shavasana. So the legs extend, the arms extend, and the body gets soft. Now, if your low back doesn't like having the legs out, you can keep your feet on the floor and knock your knees in. And if there's stuff happening in your body and you'd prefer to take seated meditation, that's also an option. So find whatever will be your restful pose today and let your body get soft and your mind drift to that place that's not quite awake but not quite asleep. Take a breath in and a breath out. And from wherever you are, you'll make your way onto your side slowly. If you're on your back, use your feet, slide them in for support, and roll in whatever direction makes sense. From your side, press into your hands and come to a comfortable seat. You can sit on anything that works for you. You can sit in any way that works for you. Just allow your spine to be long so that you're able to take full breaths in and full breaths out. As we're coming towards closing posture, set your mind to really feeling and observing the sensation that you have in your body right now. After observing this moment, acknowledge yourself for making space to practice today. Bring one hand to the center of your chest, a heart check-in with yourself, and another hand just to touch the forehead. And from our heart space and our intuitive places, and take a breath in. And we'll bow to one another in acknowledgement of this shared time. May all beings be peaceful. Thank you all so much for sharing practice.